Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are picking these from across the world. Thank you, Lady Noel, for the introduction, and Nancy Mora for the poem, and Paul Peter for the invitation. I believe this is probably my fifth Power Monday, but the third one that I am presenting. I always say that it's hard for me to say no to Paul Peter, and it's practically because of the seeds he planted in our relationship years ago. At that time, and why I do not stop from sharing this story, is to urge you to always keep doing good. Some years ago, I lived in a bedsitter that my friends called shoebox around Arboretum, and internet had just really hit, and we had just cleared campus, and it was quite expensive to browse. At that time, Paul Peter worked for Africa Online, and he gave me internet. I think the office had allowed him an extra internet to bless someone with, and he gave me free internet. At that time, the package would go for probably 10,000, which I couldn't afford. My house rent was 5,000, so I couldn't pay twice the rent for 6,000. And he gave me that for so many years. And I always had internet in my house. We didn't have smartphones, but I could always use the internet from Africa Online on my phone. So I always treasure Paul Peter and his family and everything related to him. And so I consider it an honor that you invited me to share again today. I apologize for some friends I have just invited a few minutes ago. I see some of them managed to join. It just didn't hit me. I just forgot. So I'd like to share today about networking as advertised, and how to maintain your network. The disclaimer is I'm not an expert in networking, so I'm only sharing what has worked for me. And I thought to share about what I normally call the 5 C's of networking. These so-called 5 C's of networking are just things that I consider having worked for me over the years, and then I'll again at the end share what I consider personal board of directors that any of you may want to. At the World Customs Organization, we host a number of meetings that bring together 185 countries. And in East and Southern Africa, as shared, I serve 24 countries. These are revenue administrations, basically the KRAs of the world. And we hold a number of meetings all over. That's why those of you who know me see that I travel a lot. And these are usually opportunities to network and to learn from people from across the world and across East and Southern Africa, people from more than 300 languages, more than 5 races, and just hearing them and associating with them. In those meetings I have been, there are those who never talk to people. There are those who talk too much, and there are those who talk, and when they talk, everybody pauses and listens. If anything, we have countries that are usually more vocal than other countries, and Kenya is one of them. And then there are countries that will probably never talk in those meetings. So it ends up showing something about that country. What I mean is, when you cascade these, or when you bring this down to an individual level, and you begin realizing that you are in meetings where there are people who talk too much, there are people who talk just enough but talk sense, and there are people who don't talk sense, and there are people who just keep quiet. People rarely remember those who keep quiet. And in these 5 C's, some are which are cross-cutting. I just share experiences in these. And the first thing that comes to mind when you want to maintain your networks is communication, and simply to communicate who you are. Be visible, as I have shared and given example of my home country, Kenya. I know countries like South Africa are usually also visible, countries like Nigeria, countries like the US, China, Russia, they are usually more visible when in those meetings. And at a personal level, I feel it might benefit you to be more visible if you want to network. The reason is it means you don't have to introduce yourself when you go talking. I read somewhere that if you still have to introduce yourself wherever you are, please know that you have not made it. So it's true, there are many places. Sorry, there's a train. If there are places, many places I go that I still have to introduce myself, but in East and Southern Africa, customs administrations, most of the time, and I say this respectfully, I go and I'm probably one of the few people that everyone knows in that meeting. This is mainly not just because of my work, but because my work has placed me in a position of visibility. So when you sit at the podium, you are visible. If you do not stand or sit at the podium, then it means you have to go the extra mile to be visible. You have to open your mouth and talk in these meetings. You have to talk. You have to, if Nancy Mora came to me and tells me I'm the one who recited a poem the day you were talking at Power Monday, I'll be like, if Lady Noel comes to me and says, I am the one who introduced you, then I know. There are many people here, 90% of us are not going to talk, and it's okay. But it really helps to be visible, to make yourself visible. It doesn't mean you are arrogant. You can be visible while remaining humble. You need to attend key events. If there are book launches, because I write books, she's just mentioned them. Attend book launches, attend cocktails, attend conferences. And the best part of those conferences are usually during the breaks. During the cocktails, there is usually a table and it's been set. You don't have to always coalesce around the people you came with. Go talk to people, introduce yourself. There are people who, for instance, myself, I post news on my status update, and up to 6,000 people follow those news items. I have a channel, a community where I also share updates of the day and breaking news, and I hear a lot of kind words from people who say that I don't watch news, I rely on you. If I hear a rumor, I check on Larry Liza's status to see if it has been shared. If not, I still doubt unless I confirm. And as a result, some people also approach me when they hear breaking news and share that, and I'm able to share. But I'm not paid for that. Paul has just shared that Live Your Dreams, and particularly Power Monday, is just an event that they give back to the society as the Live Your Dreams company. In return, what has happened is anytime I have needed anything and I have shared it on my status, I've always had to delete it after about an hour, because people come through for me and offer that I need. There's a day I was honestly very broke some years ago, and I posted, I'm so broke. Somebody sent me money, 5,000, another sent 10,000, another sent 1,000, another sent me airtime. And one of my friends was asking, what kind of friends do you have? But it's because of the power of networking. And sometimes you can also leverage, more importantly, on social media, a place like LinkedIn, where you share insightful content depending on what you do. And you have communicated who you are, and people get to know who you are. Sometimes I consider myself a jack of all trades, but I know someone like Paul Peter here and Live Your Dreams is now known for the personal development journey that he's giving people. I have a friend called Rina Karina, or Rina Hicks, Rina Karina Hicks of Faida Investment Bank. Anytime you hear Rina, you know that she's going to be talking about stock market, not even finances. As broad as finances are, they are so broad, but to imagine that someone can talk all year round for 20 years, for 30 years about stock market, it means she has established herself as a leader in that area, just like Paul has done in this area. So it's important as an individual that you always communicate who you are. Go to a meeting, introduce yourself, say that specific thing that relates to that meeting that you do. I go to some meetings and I say I am an author, and I leave it there. I go to some meetings and say I am a poet, and leave it there. Some meetings, in the story of the World Customs Organization, for a long time, people didn't even know that I write. They just knew me with the trade facilitation. And so that's what I consider my first C, to communicate who you are. Join relevant associations and be active in those associations. If you are an architect and the Architect Association of Kenya, if you you live in an estate and there's an estate association, it's important to join them so that people know. Where I have been staying, there's a time it was shared that someone had passed on, and I didn't hear anything other than people saying sorry, sorry. But there's a lady who had been active in that group, and at some point when the mother died, people really came through for her and were there for her, offered their parking spaces for them to put up their tent and double parked elsewhere. And it was so easy for them. The second of the 5 that I consider the 5 C's of networking is consistency. You know, on TikTok, there is a lady who is just known for cooking for her husband, you know, and she cooks all these meals, and I'm usually like, wow, what a lucky man, you know. So she's been consistent over the month since I joined the TikTok, and I always get in there and say, I wanted to cook for my husband. Then today I decided, and then there's this consistent song. I'm not sure who sang it, but we now know her for cooking. There's another guy who cooks. I think I hear he's a former rugby player that just says, done, 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 you know, and he's consistent with that. But there's a lady I really like who talks about government bonds called Angie on Bonds. To imagine that bonds, now that's not just finances, this is not just shares, this is just bonds, you know. And when Angie goes, she says, hi guys, this is Angie on bonds. And she will talk about bonds. When you think that she has exhausted every topic on bonds, remember we have government securities, treasury bills, treasury bonds, infrastructure bonds, the one that has been running 6.5 for those who are interested in investment. And Angie will always come and talk about bonds. I knew Angie on bonds for a number of years until I learned that she also has a clothing wear, you know, and I'm not marketing for her because I haven't even met her. She has a clothing wear called Angie Closet. And I never got to know of this because I'm not interested a lot in clothes. And I think she sells ladies' clothes. But there are people who I meet in restaurants and show her the phone and ask, do you know this lady? Then she says, I see her modeling clothes. And they don't know anything about bonds. So I think it's important to be consistent. In that line, she's consistent on her fashion wear. On another hand, she's very consistent on bonds. It has helped me because I'm consistent in regard to my writing. I'm consistent in regard to my work, and so on. So for me, that's what I consider my second C of networking. Be consistent in who you are. There are thieves who have been consistently stealing since birth or since we were young, and we just know them as thieves. So what I'm trying to say is be consistent in doing the right thing and in doing what you are known for. The third thing that I consider my C of networking is contact keeping. I'm calling it contact keeping to mean it's important that you remain in contact with the people across the board. What has worked for me is I'm still in contact with my friends from nursery school, from high school, from Kanga High School, from the University of Nairobi, and from the other universities that I've been honored and privileged to attend. And that's just one area of contact. And then I have tried as much as possible to remain in contact with those who are at the World Customs Organization, those who I have worked with at Kenya Revenue Authority, including those who left. And I'll tell you why, guys, it's important to keep touch with people. I'll give you an example of a certain country where the boss, the presidency changed and the head of the revenue administration was fired by the new president. And so this person went into the cold for 5 years. But during those 5 years, I kept in touch with her. I would ask her, how are you doing, Mama? When I went to that country, I would visit her or look for her or talk with her. And you could notice she was there, she was okay, not really struggling, but not at the powerhouse that she was. 5 years later, a new president came, and I'm speaking about president like President Ruto. A new president came for the country and reappointed her. If anything, she was promoted. And this was such good news for me because we just continued rolling. I have managed to get references from the country, support from the country. At some point, discussions were being made about the renewal of my contract, and she was there on the boardroom, you know, just knocking on the table for me, saying, he is a good leader, he is what. So rather than fail and rather than meet someone once and let them go, it would be very important to just keep contact. It helps when you need help later. So don't just keep contact to ask for help. Unaweza kuwa na katao hapo, you know, I heard you talking about these. Keep contact. In fact, you don't have to ask for help even from that person for years, so that when you finally need help and you ask them, they will come through for you. I have heard of the story of St. Mary's School where President Uhuru was, and how those guys have remained in contact. And it was easier for the president to appoint people from different tribes without knowing that he was appointing his schoolmates, you know, if you know what I mean. And if you dig in deeper and you realize that there is this association, I hear a lot. One of my pastors was accidentally put in a WhatsApp group for Alliance Boys. So he always shares how he sees the coordination of Alliance Boys and how they come through for each other. And you know the phrase, I went to Alliance. This morning I saw that if somebody tells you I went to Alliance, tell them that so did Kimani Ichung'wah. And I think the point here is just to make sure you maintain healthy contacts and relationships. In my high school group, I went to a high school called Kanga High School. I hadn't even thought of sharing this invitation there, but someone did and wrote that our very own will be presenting this morning. And what I've seen in that group is I have noticed that those who are more visible get more help when they need them. Let's say someone is suffering a loss of a parent, and people go there, and I see people contributing more actively, as opposed to someone having an issue and wondering, who is this? We have our former chairman, Gad Opio, and even the current chairman, who are so consistent in everything that they do that normally when I notice they seek help, people just respond immediately. So I would encourage you to work on building your relationships. Always follow up with the text when you exchange numbers, save their numbers, and be there in that way where you ensure that you are remaining in contact with the people you meet. For some places, you work there, it's been a toxic environment, and you leave and you say, I kiss you guys goodbye. Amtawahi niona tena. It's a bad attitude. There are people who may have been good for you there, and it's a small world. You will meet again. It's imperative that you remain in contact with them in a respectful way as best as you can. The fourth C that I consider one of my 5 C's of networking is collaboration. that you would come through and collaborate with others over shared practices or shared initiatives. And you could be, say, launching a book, you know, and you collaborate with a musician, you know. That's the example I can easily give. I have a friend some of you know very well called Sarah Kay. She is a constant face in all my book launches, whether it's a small event or a big event. And she comes and helps me and supports me in that. But you can call, and yet it's a book launch. So you can leverage your understanding and relationships with people. For those of you who are in industry and professionalism, you can do joint initiatives, joint training. At the World Customs Organization, at some point, we wanted to do, we know there are people who do audits and they audit customs officers. So we approached one of the major audit firms, though that is yet to materialize, to do a joint training on audit for officers who audit customs authorities. So it's important for you to check what is it that you are doing as a person. How can you get into a joint initiative? How can you do training? Probably Paul is known well for training and then calls someone else like myself in this case. This is now becomes a joint initiative where my friends who I have never managed to bring onto such a platform have been brought together through the Live Your Dreams platform. And now they know that every Monday at 7 p.m., there is always 7 a.m. in the morning, East Africa time, there is always a Power Monday that they can join. They will know that this will be posted on YouTube, and should they miss it, they can log in later and join that. So those are my 4. The 5th of what I consider my 5 C's of networking is cooperation. And when I talk about cooperation, it's just that you as a person, you become helpful. You are able to provide value. You are able to go out of your way for those who need it, or at least to try to have helped. I left mainstream care 12 years ago. People normally still come to me. Sometimes it's quite difficult to help, especially if it's not customs, because when I have issues, I also have to, you know, go through that long route. But what I mean is sometimes you do not even have to have the answers. You can just guide. Be helpful. Many people come to ask questions about publishing. I'm not necessarily the best-selling author out there, but still it's important to be free to be able to assist. I know someone who was publishing a book and they were being charged 20,000 to get an ISBN. ISBN is this number, the barcode that is usually on top of the books, behind the books for the scanning. And they were being charged 20,000. And I knew they didn't even have that money. I told them to go to the National Museums of Kenya. No, to the Kenya National Library. They didn't even have to go there. Log into the system, click apply for ISBN. I mean, log in, get your address, apply for ISBN, pay 1,000, get ISBN. I mean, the Kenya National Museums is, for me, one of the most effective government organizations out there. Every year I launch a book and I write a book, I apply for an ISBN. I have never gone there to meet them, to talk to them, but somehow I have seen that. So it's important to know, to be open, to be helpful. That's why I'm calling cooperation. Cooperate with those who need it, including those who do not need it. And sometimes you need a platform as simple as WhatsApp. If you are in the WhatsApp admin, I mean, you are cooperating with your people, you are talking when they need to. You can even be the chairman of your estate court. You guys, you know, chairman, irrespective of where they are, chairperson, chairwoman, they are really, really respected. You know, when they call for a meeting, even if people don't come, people in fact stop using their name, call them chair, 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 chairman, chairmundo, chairperson, chair lady. And she's just the chair lady of an estate group. She's a chair lady of an investment group. And when they meet in town, niaje chairman, you know, and someone is wondering, hey, is this the chairman of Ketraco board or what? So it's important for you to just be kind enough to cooperate with people and always go out of your way. Those are what I consider my 5 C's of networking. 1, to communicate who you are and be visible while through it, that people may know who you are, what you are, how you do it, where you are, and why you do it. That you'd be consistent in everything you do, like the lady who cooks for her husband, Rina, or Angie on Bonds, or Paul Peter with Power Monday and Live Your Dreams, that you'd keep your contact from high school, nursery, whichever places you can put, even old neighbors you can always meet. I heard that the people who own, is it Subarus, meet somewhere, you know, meet somewhere every month to go with their Subarus. So whether it's an old Subaru, they just meet, you know. And 4th, to collaborate, have joint initiatives that you can share with your friends and that you can keep up with people. And finally, to cooperate with people in a helpful way. I started by saying that there's something I learned. I did a course in Michigan University some time back on talent management and development, and they shared something called personal board of directors. And if you leave anything here, with anything here, I would like you to remember that there is this tool that you can develop on your own called Personal Board of Directors, which has 4 areas. They have what we call the sponsors, the mentors, the supporters, and the challengers. The sponsors are those who know you, those who can knock the boardroom table for you. You know, for instance, Paul can consider me a sponsor, you know, not the other silly sponsor that we keep talking about out here, in which case I can vouch for him. So I may not be his mentor, but I can vouch for him. So a sponsor is someone who can vouch for you. They may be your former boss, they may be your colleague, they may be your partner, and it's important for you to take time after this and write those 4 things and ask yourself, who are my sponsors? List. Usually you'll find about 3 to 5 people, and there are those that will be cross-cutting. Then those who cross-cut, now you can cancel out the names and you find a board of about 6 people that you know you can run to at any time you need anything. So when you look at sponsors, then when you know you have sponsors, then you know you have 1 or 2 or 3 people who can always vouch for you. The second thing, a category in the personal board of directors, are the mentors, the people you consider your mentors. They can as well be some sponsors, but these are people you can go with to learn from them, to lean not onto your own understanding always, but to hear from them and to lean onto their understanding. And the 4th are the supporters. I think these are the people who just will cheer you on emotionally. Usually it's a spouse, it's a girlfriend, it's a boyfriend, it's a best friend, it's a child, you know, people who you know are always, you know, supporting you. They may not have it all, but they are always there. They make you happy when you call. I think someone yesterday told me that I normally look forward to your calls. And you see, you get the sense that, this is your supporter, you know, this is someone who wants to hear from you. Many of you here are my supporters. I publish books and you buy them. There are people who have never missed my functions. There are people at some point, I think this year I had an event to honor Mary Atieno, and there are some 3 friends who are really, really praying for me and for the event. I don't meet them daily, I don't interact with them daily, but oh my God, they really, really came through for me. I knew they were consistently holding that in prayer. It may not mean a lot to someone else, but it means a lot to those who choose to stand with faith, to know that you have these supporters that you can call on when you are in crisis. But the bigger goal and vision here is that you are also there for them when they need you. Something many of us end up drinking more and gaining more than we give. But in your small way, you should always be willing and ready to give, even if it's that news item, that status update that you share. And the final of the 4 board of directors are the challengers, those who challenge you. You just have that friend of yours, things work for them. I have a friend by, I think, 35, he was owning this company. At some point, when President Obama was coming, his landscaping firm was allowed to do landscaping for Uhuru Highway, you know, and I was telling him, hapa si umelipwa 5 million. Then he said, no, it's a little bit more than that, you know. And there are people, there's another friend of mine who has a restaurant. When you go there, he keeps encouraging you. There's another friend of mine who does government securities. He showed me his Dow CSD account, and I couldn't believe that he has 10 million, you know, in that. And he told me, you know, 10 million is going to be giving me 120 million a year. So this is an average of 100,000 a month. And his goal is to hit 100 million. I have an uncle of mine who really inspires me by the work that he does, his age on the financial spheres. I have someone else who really challenges me with the fasting and prayer. So it doesn't have to be what people consider the in thing, but there are other in things that, you know, can just be to encourage someone, to bless someone. So if you write down your personal board of directors, you will realize that there are those who are cross-carrying, and then you can look through and find about 7 and call them. You can always treat them, but I meant call them, keep in touch. Just say to yourself, you will also find that half of them, you never talk to them, but they are there when you need them. So you become intentional in ensuring that you talk to them, that you keep in touch with them as often beyond their expectations. So the personal board of directors that has helped me is 1, sponsors, those who can knock at the table for you and vouch for you, for your character and that you believe in. Mentors, those you can go to for coaching and mentoring, and to help you and to work and walk with you through your career development or through your various spheres of life. And the 3rd are the supporters, those who will always be there for you or be there for you at the times you need them. Let them always know that you treasure them and you honor them. And finally, the challengers, those who stretch you to be the best of who you are. As I finish, let me take this opportunity through you, Paul, to let everyone know of my latest book. Noel mentioned that I have, I think, 5 books. It's called There Has Never Been Anything False About Hope. This book's title was given to me by my brother, Ronnie Trevor, because it's a phrase Obama had mentioned in one of his campaigns. And it's just to remind you that in the circle of life, you may have seen it all, gone through different issues related to relationships, whether with your colleagues, with your family, with your friends, with your lovers, gone through highs and lows, ups and downs, losses related to sickness, but to always hold on to hope. So I'll be launching it on 3rd of February next year, Saturday, 3rd of February in Nairobi, probably St. Andrews. So you are welcome. I don't have the venue yet. And the book is also on sale, so you can always know how to find it if you search me on social media. Thank you, Noel, and thank you, Paul Peter. Thank you, Nancy, for the poem. We call it poem. And thank you, everyone, for your attention. The Lord bless you and keep you.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Larry Liza. Like, that was awesome. That was great. Like, that's it. It was such an awesome conversation that we have had. So I welcome Nashami to give us a vote of thanks.
Do we have questions?
I have not seen any question on the chat. Anyone with any question? Anton is raising up his hand. Is it his or her hand? I don't know. But
it's Anton.
yes.
Thank you, Larry, and also for the opportunity to ask the questions. There is just an observation I have made over time on particularly in terms of networking during events. And the reality is that sometimes to even attend the events, I mean, sometimes they're out of your way. You just have very limited time. But how can you maximize, let's say, your networking opportunities at an event? I have noted that those who arrive early collect the most business cards, and those who stay late, particularly let's say it's a whole day thing and there's a cocktail in the evening, you also do quite a lot. But it's sometimes not possible to be the first in and the last out. How do you maximize networking within an event?
Okay. Is it possible to have all the questions, Lady Noel? Then I can respond at once.
Okay, another question that I have seen but I've lost it is someone was asking how to revive like old networks. Yeah, I've paraphrased it, but I understood it as how to guide on ways to revive old networks. And then Otieno Paul Peter, can you see any other question? I can't see any other question on the chat. And then someone is asking for your contacts and email, Larry. Those are the only questions that we have.
Thank you. Let me start by asking if there is anyone who feels they can best answer the question, to feel free to type on the chat box so that people know, because I'm not the guru in these. But one, to maximize networking opportunities during events, for me, I mentioned it somewhere, to keep contact. Sometimes it's not all about taking the business cards and going to, to change them. But for me, I normally save, and if I don't know, I can get your name, but because I'll forget, I'll save, Noel, Lady Noel, met at Paul Peter's Power Monday, just either on the notes or on the entire number, so that the day they call, as that number goes through. So for me to take contact, it's true you may not leverage the opportunity to have everyone and to discuss everything, but after you take contact, it means you touch base thereafter. Invite them for coffees. And guys, stop this habit that if you consider yourself the lesser person professionally and you invite the higher person for coffee, you let them pick the venue and you let them pay, So invite someone for coffee if you are willing. It doesn't have to be lunch, you go to a simple restaurant. If they're willing, don't expect them to pay. So just ask them during that time, oh, I've really loved these. Make sure you get that date at that time. I've really loved the conversation we have had. Is it possible for us to meet soon? Can we do next Monday? Can you, just try pin. And don't worry, you don't have to have it all. Can you invite me to your next event? So you don't have to get 100 contacts. You can even go to a contact to an event and miss and don't come out with any contact. But there's a day you will get that one contact that will change your life, or whose life you will be able to change. The second question on how to revive old networks, thankfully, we have social media. It's important to try find them. Sometimes bringing together entire groups are hard. We've tried it with, I think, a boarding primary school I was in. and we have this group that is a bit moribund or less quiet, more quiet, but you don't have to do it all. If you can know someone who knows someone who knows someone who can help you through that, leverage Facebook, WhatsApp, talk to these people, and ask for a meeting. Bring together few people in an afternoon. Don't ambush people to meet them immediately. Give it time. My contacts, the easiest way is to search me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on WhatsApp. Oh my God, I'm even on TikTok. On TikTok, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, and through Paul Peter. My email address, though, is larry@larryliza.com. larry@larryliza.com. If you always touch base, I can always call back, share your number. This is going to be posted on YouTube. That's why I'm lackadaisical about sharing my number in this regard. But thank you. Well, you are muted, I think.
Thank you so much. Asante sana. So I assume there is no other question.
Okay. First of all, it's really to just appreciate this sharing. We've not met in person with Larry, but we've met online here several times. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. Thank you so much for the sharing. I really liked your presentation on visibility and, like being present in the various forums that you've shared. So I really feel motivated. Maybe the question I would like to ask, especially now that you're doing your 5th book, is how you manage to do it, how you are able to produce content and do these 5 books, and how viable is do you get return on the books? Because some of us have many books in our heads, it's never gone to pen. I'm sure even Lady Noel maybe has even 5 books in the head. So maybe you could give us a challenge. How do you go about it, publishing? I know Paul Peter has also done it. Maybe you could also share some tips on how some of us who are still holding back can make that. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, the bad news is that the question, answering the question effectively would be so long. I would encourage Paul to set up another Power Monday to allow me. But in a nutshell, it is said that of the world, 10, at least a minimum of 10%, everybody wishes to write, a minimum of 10% at least attempt to write. I've forgotten the statistics, but 90% of those who desire to write, only 1% of those who desire to write ever write. Only 1% of those who ever write ever publish. So we have a lot of books in the graves and in our pillows. So the trick is just to write. What helps me write and inspires me is my past, my present, my future, the experiences of friends and other people. But I have what I call an annual plan, and that's what I was saying may be long. In my annual plan, I have talked about what I call the 4 Gs in my annual plan. And number 1 is usually God and everything that I want to do in related to God, whether it's Bible study, prayer, meetings I want to attend, giving to church, giving to people, and so on. The second thing is normally groups. For me, friends and family and are so important that I say every year that I would want to celebrate my friends, honor them on their birthdays, even if it's just a voice message memo on their phone or a post, visit my aunties, visit my grandparents, visit my friends' parents in Shags. I have another Shags, for instance, in Meru. I normally go to Meru even without telling the children that I'm going there, and the parents have loved me and have considered me part, but it's because I plan for it. I actually allocate myself max 1 in everything that I want to do every year, and then I equate it to a percentage. The third thing is normally gifts. The third G, my gift, my talent. So in this regard, I know I need to write, say, 50 poems in the year, meaning at least 4 poems, 5 poems a month. So at least I know every week I need to write at least a poem. Sometimes I don't write, but in another week, I'll end up in an hour, I'll write 3 poems. I know I need to publish a book. I have books that I started working on 20 years ago, 10 years ago, this one maybe 7 years ago, but mainly picked up in the last 5 years. And then I started writing heavily this year. So I do that plan. Everything related to my talent, performances, emceeing in events and whatnot. And finally, for me, it's growth and development. I knew this year I needed to graduate from Harvard right from the beginning of the year, and I managed to graduate. I knew this year that I wanted to save a certain amount of money, say in the treasury bills, and I have to struggle towards it. But through it all, it's usually just requires consistency and a lot of prayers. And there are times something happened that slaps you either emotionally, financially, socially, physically. It can be sickness, and you may not really hit your dreams, but you must never lose your vision. But above all, you should always know that there has never been anything false about hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. There has never been
anything
about
false
anything
about hope.
Anything false about hope.
Anything false
Yes.
about hope. Okay. So hope
Yeah.
never disappoints, by the way.
Yes.
Hope never disappoints. Yes, hope never disappoints. At times I'd rather you lose faith but keep hope, because I believe even it is hope that is keeping us going in life. Just have hope.
Noel,
Have
I saw
hope.
the
Do not
hands
be
of
hopeless.
I saw the hands of one of my seniors. I don't know if I didn't even know he's here, Julius
Yes.
Yega. Don't
I
know if
also
you'd
saw
want to.
someone. Good morning, Julius.
Good morning, Larry. I've joined your session for the first time online today, and I can just let you know that that is one of the best ways to motivate humanity in the morning. I just want to say that the church, we have been for a long time in our church, the Catholic Church, hope is always the last one. When you lose hope, you are gone. So I'm happy that you've spoken about hope, because hope is the last thing. Anybody who forgets to have hope is gone. And this is one of the greatest things that I admire. And then I also wanted to comment briefly on the gentleman who spoke just ahead of me. I think it's called Lomondi, about when he was asking you, what do you generate out of the books? And I wanted to say that I think it's not so much about what you generate. It is so much about the network. I was listening to one of the scholars, and I believe the speeches that he gives globally are not what he's paid, but it's the network you develop as you progress. Larry, I've read so many of your books, and even last time when you are going to celebrate Mary Otieno, I followed you, but I was not able to join physically where you guys were. But I can tell you, you've made it possible for people to appreciate that it can start small and at the end of the day becomes the web. God bless you people for joining and for listening to Larry. Larry, continue doing it, and we believe so much in what you do. It is changing lives. God bless you all people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Julius. Lusana. So Caroline Nashami, the floor is yours, gal.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that you've all been empowered. I want to say a profound thank you to Mr. Larry Liza for his enlightening talk on networking. His insights into communication, consistency, keeping contact, collaboration, and cooperation have really been invaluable. And when I just thought he had finished, he then introduced the concept of a personal board of directors, where he mentioned sponsors, mentors, and challengers. Mr. Liza's articulate presentation navigated the intricacies of building connections, emphasizing effective communications pivotal role. His stress on consistency, maintaining contacts, and power of collaboration have resonated deeply. And I just want to confirm that as he was talking about Rina, Karina Hicks, Angie on bonds, I was so excited because these are people I really follow. And when I need to confirm something from them, I always go back to their pages. And I have Money Wise by Rina Hicks, where she speaks about create, grow, and preserve wealth. Larry, your expertise and passion is leaving us informed and motivated to apply these principles. We are truly grateful for your commitment in sharing your expertise. Thank you so much. And thanks to all participants for the enriching discussion, your questions, and insights that you have shared. Special gratitude to Power Monday Group and organizers for making this event possible. Dear participants, let us carry these lessons forward, and thank you all for a wonderful and successful session. Have a blessed week. Thank you. Back to you, Noel.